Welcome everyone to another Marvel Crisis Protocol unboxing. So today it's Punisher and Taskmaster. So if you're anything like me, you've always liked the Punisher character, especially the Netflix series, which was super good. I wasn't a massive fan of the actual actor, purely because I watched The Walking Dead, and I should separate the actor from the character. But I couldn't help myself, and I was a bit dubious when I first watched it, but within the first episode, the guy was an absolute boss, and I loved him. Taskmaster, I didn't know much about until I saw him in the 90s Spider-Man cartoons just a couple of times. So I checked him out at the time, and I learned quite a bit. So, the models themselves look pretty cool, but on the back it will tell you a little bit of the fluff, so feel free to pause it and check out and see what it says on the back. But rather than reading you a story, I'll give you a brief rundown. So Frank Castle, aka the Punisher, was a Marine, and he was a by the book Marine, and he was an absolute boss in close combat, brilliant with firearms, such a good Marine. But his family got taken out, he was murdered. He should have been dead. He was suspected to be killed, and that's why they left him. You saw there was a Punisher film before the series, a few years before that, and that was Thomas Jane, I believe, the actor, and he took a couple of bullets to the chest, and apparently he was dead, but he wasn't, and then he sought revenge on the Saint family, which was John Travolta's family. Which was a little bit cheesy, but I still quite liked the film. But in the series, very much the same thing. His family got killed in front of him. He was suspected to be dead, but he wasn't after all, and now he delivers his own kind of justice. So unlike most what we call superheroes, he's not really a superhero. He has no mutations, no special powers like that. He's just an absolute boss, because he's trained by the Marines. He's a stone cold killer, but he has rules, so he doesn't kill people who are unarmed, doesn't kill innocent people, obviously. So he's not a good guy, he's not a bad guy, he's kind of an anti-hero, but rather than arresting bad guys, he prefers to beat the tar out of them, may even kill them. So unlike Spider-Man, who will get somebody arrested, web them up, and let the police pick them up, this guy actually does kill them. And in one of my favourite comic series, which was Civil War, nearly forgot there, this guy kills Jack-O-Lantern, so he actually blows his head to bits. So Jack-O-Lantern was beating the tar out of Spider-Man, Iron Spider at the time, and the comic book is so much better than the film. Not I don't like Civil War, but Civil War, the comic, is so much better. Completely different story. It's about the Mutant Registration Act. So they actually should show the world their true identity. Spider-Man does so. Everyone knows he's Peter Parker, like in the latest film. But Jack-O-Lantern goes after him and nearly kills Spider-Man, or was going to, before the Punisher blows his head to tiny little bits. So he's not coming back, you know. So the Punisher has always been absolutely epic. And I like the fact he's standing on a duffel bag there, probably filled with claymores and stuff like that. But Anthony Masters, Taskmaster. So on the back here, it does say about he did take a formula to improve his fighting skills. So as long as he watches someone fight for a mere matter of moments, he picks up their fighting technique and he knows how to defeat them. So like when he took on Spider-Man, for the first few seconds, he was getting his butt kicked, and then he quickly adapts his fighting style, learns all about theirs and their weaknesses. After that, he's an absolute boss. He has a shield, he has a sword, he's got super fast reflexes, but in the comics, it's a little bit more complicated than that. So he knows, after taking this serum, he can actually mimic other people, he can defeat them. But he forgets other things. So he forgets things about his own personal life. All he knows is how to defeat this person. So he doesn't really know who he is. He's kind of a shell of a guy. And he used to, at one stage, work for S.H.I.E.L.D., which isn't on the back of this box. And he was, in fact, in love, very much in love, and his woman was in trouble. And he knows full well that if he mimics this bad guy, he can defeat him. But if he defeats him, he'll forget who the love of his life is. But he loves her that much, he decides to do it anyway. So, yes, he saves her, but he has no idea who she is. So it's a little bit sad, but he's such a cool guy. So he is a bad guy, but he's not a complete bad guy, not deep down. Whether he knows it or not, I don't know. But that's a bit of the background. Enough of the background, Ross. Stop gassing. People want to see some rules. So... Right. There we go. Alright, so... straight off the back, we have some instructions. So, in the instructions... so this is number 32 on the releases. So at some stage they started putting numbers in, which made things a little bit easier, but the instructions aren't too bad to follow anyway. Pretty clean models, not many mold lines. You get the occasional one, obviously, like you will with any miniature, but very nice too. So no options on this guy. He is what he is. Easily able to slot into place, and I do recommend plastic glue to fill those tiny little gaps rather than super glue. And there's a couple pictures of the comic book loadout of both of them. So Frank Castle there on his traditional Skull t-shirt. And thankfully, if you're not very good at freehand, there is actually a skull on his t-shirt, so you don't have to worry about painting it. Which is pretty cool. So yeah, standard black t-shirt. It's not going to be overexcited looking. It's pretty basic. But yeah, it's good. The fact that you don't have to put too much on. The only fiddly bits, the little pouches on the side, not too bad. Not like Rocket with his tiny little nose. But let's have a look. So, most of the time in Marvel Crisis Protocol, you do get an option of bases. Especially like the Rocket and Groot pack, where you had two different size models. You've got a sprue of different size bases. So you have normally one for the small guys, one's whole sprue, and if you've got a big model in the kit as well, you have a sprue with the two big bases on. Big bases come on 2 sprues, smaller ones on 4. But there's 2 models in this kit, so you still get 2 left over, so you'll pick whatever you want to use. And if you haven't seen Marvel Crisis Protocol miniatures before, if you wonder what that is a crushed can. That's some kind of drinks cup, if the camera focuses. There we go. Lots better. So it's great to see a little bit of trash and stuff on the base itself. Makes it look a bit more realistic. So it's street level bases, street level terrain. So here's the Punisher. Her big gun. Taking no prisoners. Detail's pretty good on these guys. If the camera will pick it up. Not that there's a lot of detail on this particular model. See if I can position the camera slightly better so you can actually see what's going on. Can you see the detail on Frank's face there? It's not bad. It's not bad. So Taskmaster has his own shield, but he has learnt a few moves from Captain America, which hopefully the rules will reflect. But so far, Marvel Crisis Protocol has been pretty good at rules and fluff coinciding. So it doesn't really matter to most people, but to me, I kind of like it when fluff does equal rules. It makes a bit more sense to me personally. So once again, a load of tokens. So bleed, activate tokens, and we'll find out what the other tokens are in a second. We'll get to the team tactics cards. And who should we start on first? I think we will go with Punisher. So Punisher, aka Frank Castle. So 6 health on the healthy side, medium movement, height of 2 because he's standard human size, and he cost 3 to have in your roster. That's pretty cool. Basic defenses 3, 3, and 3. So most people are like that if they're a standard person of standard size. Okay, no biggie. So 3 on the physical, 3 on the energy, and 3 on the mystic. So hip fire, range 3, 4 dice, and 0. Energy. So after the attack is resolved, this character gains 1 energy. So it doesn't even have to hit, he gains 1 energy. Rapid fire. After this attack is resolved, this character may make 1 additional hip fire attack. The additional attack must target the original target. The additional attack does not have the rapid fire special rule. So you're running 4 dice. At range 3, you generate 1. And you do it again, and you generate 1. So basically, for 1 action, you are generating 2. Okay, it's not bad. It's not bad. So you start the game with 1 anyway. You generate 2. It leaves you with 3, which is pretty cool because there is a 3-pointer here, which is an aimed shot. So you might want to keep those energy, but if you did want to spend it in the first turn, you can. Aimed shot, range 5, 7 dice, 3 energy. If you get a wild, it has pierce. Change one of the defending characters' crits, wilds, or defense results to a blank. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. So several characters have that, like Sabretooth, for example. So bit of armor piercing, why not? If this attack deals damage, after the attack is resolved, the target character gains the stun and slow special conditions, which is always nice. So for those who didn't know, slow, the character can only use the short, that's the smallest movement, or making an advance, which is pretty nice. Works on most characters that don't have, fun enough, short movement. So if you have small movement, it's not going to make any difference to them. If they're, I don't know, let's say Baron Zemo, who's really super fast, really relies on making those long movements, grabbing objectives, it's really going to hinder them. And stun, if an effect would cause a character to gain more than 1 power, unfortunately, they only gain 1 power. So some people have some great builders out there. You know, they could potentially do like 5 damage, gaining them 5 energy in return. They can only do 1, which is pretty nice. Also works, like if you damage them and you do 5 damage to them and they get 5, for example, then they only actually take 1. So it's pretty good for those characters like, let's say, Strange. Doctor Strange really likes having lots of energy. Alright, yes, he does start with 2 energy per turn, but yeah, limiting those abilities really does help. Of course, putting 2 conditions on at the same time is pretty strong, because if they want to get rid of them, they've got to do 2 actions to get rid of both, unless they got something special going on at the time. So, no more second chances. So this is the start of his power section. So it costs 0 energy. Discard 1 to 3 Punisher tokens, which we'll get to in a minute, during the next attack made by this character this turn. Add 1 dice to this attack for each punishment token that was discarded. This superpower can only use once per turn. So that's these pictures of Frank Castle. Punishment tokens, which we'll get to in a second. Special Ops Training. Makes sense, using Special Ops. 2 energy. This character advances small. This superpower can only be used once per turn. So his normal movement is medium anyway, but if you really want to get up there and you still want to do some like hip fire shots, things like that, it saves you spending an action, which is, it's okay. It's alright, it's okay. I mean, it's not an action itself. It hasn't got the action keyword next to it. So you could, let's say you had an objective, if you really needed to get out there, rather than just killing stuff, which I know is not Frank's way, he really wants to just kill stuff, you could move medium, medium, and then spend 2 points to move again, which is pretty nice. It really gets you out of trouble if needs be. If you're on an objective, holding an objective, why not? Or if you need to get to the middle to get to an objective, why not? Warzone. Warzone is an action. It says it's an action, so therefore it's an action. Does cost 3 energy. It's an action. Choose an interactive terrain feature of size 3 or less within range 4 of this character. Enemy characters within 1 of this terrain feature suffer 2 damage. Now it says enemy characters, not friendly. So the terrain feature is destroyed and removed from the battlefield. This superpower can only be used once per turn. So he can't throw terrain, so in a true Frank Castle style, he will blow it up. But weirdly enough, the explosion only hurts enemies, which is good, because he wouldn't want to hurt the innocent or his own team. Well, maybe, if he can help it. But it's weird how an explosion purely only targets enemies. But hey ho, who might argue? The Fallen. So here comes the tokens I was talking about. When another allied character is dazed or KO'd by an enemy effect, this character gains a punishment token. The character may have a maximum of 3 punishment tokens a time. So really hold on to them until you really need to take a shot. So that aimed shot has 7 dice. You potentially could have 10 dice out of that. So you could have another 3 dice, which is pretty good. Range 5, 10 dice. What's there not to like, right? They also increase your chance of getting pierced as well. So if you really, really have to kill somebody, that's nice. So Frank Castle, he's not bad. He's not bad. He's pretty angry all the time. All he wants to do is shoot. He's not really built for grabbing those objectives. But, you know, if you have to, you know, spend special ops training to move up, why not? So that is his passive ability, the tokens, the punishment tokens. On the injured side, he goes from a big old 6 health to 5 health. So he's not looking so hot on that picture, is he? So that's where he likes to be. He likes to be blown up, shot at. Yeah, he's nuts. Right, so hip fire looks exactly the same. Aim shot looks exactly the same. No more second chances. Special ops, Warzone, and the Fallen all look exactly the same. So he does not change. Normally I talk about what affiliations he will be good in. Frank has no affiliation. So, I mean, yes, you could put him in someone's affiliation, but he's not part of the Avengers. Even though he's worked alongside in the comics, he never joins the Avengers. He never joins the X-Men. He certainly never, ever, ever, even though he works alongside Spider-Man, reluctantly a little bit, he certainly wouldn't join the Web Warriors. He is not part of any affiliation. Which makes sense. He's a one-man army. He works on his own. That's how he rolls, people. Right. Taskmaster. Anthony Masters. So, 6 health on the healthy side. Medium movement. Size 2. Like I said, normal human kind of size. He also costs 3. So, he is 3, 3, and 3. Like I said, that's pretty standard for a normal human looking person. So initially he was human. He has taken a serum to improve his reflexes and memory to mimic and copycat people. So first attack is a physical, once again. It's a sword strike. So it's range 2, is 5 damage for 0 energy. After this attack is resolved, this character gains energy equal to the amount of damage dealt. So unlike the Punisher, if you don't do any damage, you score no energy. But, you know, you can do pretty well. It's 5 dice, but you've really got to get fairly close at range 2. If he gets a wild, it's bleed. Well, it is a sword after all, right? So after this attack is resolved, this target character gains the bleed special condition. So bleed, for those who don't know, is a great condition. So at the end of that character's turn, it will lose 1 wound. unless it's, you know, it stops at the beginning of its turn and gets rid of the condition, and then it's fine at the end of the turn. It's not going to suffer from bleed. Or if you're like Wolverine and you regenerate 2, you only technically regenerate 1, I guess, because you're bleeding 1 out. Okay, so shield throw. Shield throw has a bit more range on it. Fun enough, you're throwing a shield. So like I said, he mimicked Captain America, so it's pretty cool. It doesn't say it's made of vibranium though, which you would expect it wouldn't be because vibranium is fairly rare. So it's range 4, it's 4 dice, so it's not as much as his sword. This attack ignores line of sight, and a defending character does not benefit from cover, which is always great. Hiding behind something, bunk, shield somehow bounces off something, still takes that model out, and they do not benefit from cover. Wicked. If he gets a wild, he unlocks Ricochet. After his attack is resolved, this character may make an additional shield throw attack. This attack must target another character within 3 of the original target character, and may be any distance from this character. This additional attack does not have the Ricochet special rule, so you can't do that again. Basically what they're saying is, yeah, the initial attack is only range 4, but if you throw the shield and it does get a wild, it can still pink off and up to another 3 from that distance. So it can be even further away than range 4. So if you can't get that model running away with an objective token, see if you can hit someone else and try to get that ricochet and then wipe them out. It's pretty good. Great Captain America, isn't it? So we have Thermonic Technique. So it is a range 2. It's 4 dice and it is 2 energy. Add dice to the attack roll equal to the target's physical defense. So if, let's say they got 3 physical defense, normally you're rolling 4 dice for this particular thing, but you're adding an extra 3 for that target's physical defense. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. A target character cannot modify or re-roll dice in the defense roll during that attack. That's great. So, like I said, he has fought Spider-Man, so that's pretty good, because Spider-Man does like to mess around with defense rolls. So I think that's the strongest bit. Not adding the target's defense. I mean, it's always nice to roll more dice. Hopefully you're more lucky than your opponent, but that's the bit that makes it strong. So I think that is a solid 2 energy attack. It's pretty nice. Yes, initially you think only 4 dice until you read the small print. Pretty cool. So he has photographic reflexes for his first lots of superpowers. So it costs 2 energy. After the attack targeting this character is resolved, this character may use this superpower. If the attacker is within 3, roll 4 dice, deal 1 damage to that attacker for each crit and wild rolled. If the attacker has already targeted this character with an attack this turn, roll 6 dice instead of 4. So, if someone hits you and does chip damage, I wouldn't do this if your first attack against you is 5 damage, leaving you on 1 health. If someone's done 1 damage to you and they want to smack you again, and you do survive, after this attack is resolved, do this. First time you do it, it's 4 dice. It's not bad. But it doesn't say once per turn. So you could do it once, if you've got 2 energy to spare. Then when they do it again, it's another 6, which is pretty cool. But do you really want to spend 4 energy in total? Maybe. I mean, what else is he going to spend it on? His shield throw is free. Doesn't cost any energy at all. No does his sword strike. So the only thing you're really spending it on is that and the mnemonic technique. So yeah, he's going to have a fair bit of energy, and that's the only way he really spends it, so why not? He does have 3 passive abilities. So Intuitive pattern recognition. If an enemy character targets this character with an attack and has already targeted this character with attack this turn, add 2 dice to the defense rolls. That's nice. So, they hit you. Hopefully it's only chip damage. The next time they do it, you're a lot harder to take out. So they really, really need to hit you first time really hard. 6 health isn't massively strong, and he's got standard defense. So the first time they hit you could well be big. Could well be big. But he's a martial artist. So when this character is defending against physical or energy attacks targeting from within 2, this character adds blanks to its defense rolls in his total successes. So if someone's going to shoot you, they're going to try to shoot you from a distance. Because adding blanks is pretty nice. Especially if you're like me. There's 2 blanks, I think, on each D8. So there's a damn good chance. Okay. Rogue Agent, the last one. Rogue Agent. One character with Rogue Agent counts as an affiliated character during its squad building. Which basically means, normally you have your affiliation, so not Punisher today, obviously. But you normally have, let's say, She-Hulk, for example, is A-Force and Avengers. Taskmaster is actually Criminal Syndicate. So he does have an affiliation, but if you put him in any squad, he does actually count as that squad for the purposes of building. So normally you need over 50% of one affiliation. He can count for that 50% if you really want him to, which is a pretty unique ability. It's pretty nice. I like that. So he has 6 health on the healthy side. He has 5 on the back. So it's taken a bit of a kick in. He's torn up a little bit there. But there's not much difference on the back. Very much like the Punisher. He has his sword strike, hasn't changed. Shield throw hasn't changed. Nothing has changed. But, like I said, the first attack against him needs to be big to try to take him out. If it's only chip damage, he's only going to get harder. It's only going to get more difficult to get rid of. Nice. That makes sense to me because he's very much like that in the cartoons and the comics. So, Team Tactics cards. What have we got here? I'll keep it a little bit closer actually because you might want to actually read it. If you've got old man eyes like me. Blood red and personal. Unaffiliated. Reactive. Okay, during the power phase, an allied Punisher may spend 4 energy to play this card. Each time an enemy character is KO'd, this round, this character's controlling player gains 1 victory point. So if a load of people have taken damage and haven't got much health left, then play this card. Because 4 energy is quite a bit. I'd rather keep that to do some serious work. But victory points are victory points, and that's what wins the game, not how many models are dead. If you've got 16 victory points and someone else has only got 4, yeah, you're winning. Winning at life. Okay, extreme conditioning. So that is unaffiliated, reactive. So when a character begins a move action during this activation, it may spend 2 energy to play this card. If the active character advances, it may use the long movement during the movement. So that's pretty cool. If someone is really, really super slow, it's not any particular character, it's any of your characters. So if you want, let's say, who's super, super slow? I like Omega Red. It's one of my favourites. But he's a bit chunky, that boy. You know, he's not got the fastest move. So, long movement, getting up there, it's fantastic. He wants to be up close, wants to be personal. Brilliant, fantastic. I mean, if you start at the beginning of your turn with an objective token and you need to get the hell out of dodge, use this. Especially, imagine using it on Zemo. And he's got 3 long movements then. He's gone. Not getting that guy. Especially if he hasn't got much health. And you need to keep him alive with that token. Get him out of there. He's running to the end zone. He is gone. So, heavy ordnance. Already I know this is going to be a Punisher card, surely. Explosive Barrage, it's range 4. It is 6 dice, 0 energy. So far, that is. Some of these will change. Unaffiliated, active. Any character may spend 2 energy. So technically it is 2 energy, not 0 energy. So during its activation, to play this card. This character may play the attack listed above once this activation. Okay. This attack can only have dice added to the attack from crit results, so no buffing it in any other way. And this character cannot modify its attack dice during the attack. Additionally, this attack has the following special rule. Quite surprised it's not Punisher. It's very Punisher-esque, isn't it? Explosive. Before damage is dealt, other enemy characters within 2 of the target character suffers 1 damage. So it's before damage is dealt, so explosive is pretty nice there. So even if you don't actually damage the initial target, let's say there's other targets around that are on 1 wound, this is nice. It only costs 2, so it's not a big deal. Range 4 is better than average. 6 dice is pretty nice for 2, as in 2 energy. So 2 energy, 6 dice is pretty solid. You can't boost it in any other way other than crits. But if there's people nearby that have a couple of wounds left on them, it's not bad. It's okay. It's not massively strong. It's not something I would probably put in my list. Maybe extreme conditioning, because if you need to get out of dodge, you have a very slow character. Wolverine would be pretty nice. So forget getting those objectives. Wolverine's main thing on the downside is he's slow. To be fair, he has got adamantium skeleton. He's going to be pretty slow. So yeah, put it on Wolverine. Get him up there. Mess some stuff up. Why not, eh? So I might put that in my list. Probably not Blood Red and Personal, because I'm not sure how often I'm going to use the Punisher. I think he's a wicked model. Probably going to use Taskmaster more. Maybe put him on an objective. He's got some tricks. He's got a shield throw, so if someone's trying to hide, he can maybe do some work. It's not got bad range, but I will try them both. I picked this one up mainly because I just like the characters. I'm not really adding them probably to my Cabal list, but who knows. So I was supposed to initially stick to Cabal, but I have been tempted with my old favourites from the 90s, the X-Men. So I will be picking them up again. Especially seeing one of our local guys, Andrew Brown, using X-Men in our local tournament. Such a good game playing against him. I used my my X-Force against his X-Men, and it was a really, really good game. He did some work. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So it was great to see him schooling me in a good way, in a positive way. But yeah, it was a fantastic event. So I'm from the UK, if you haven't guessed already. And in the southwest, there was a new tournament opening up. I think it might have been their first ever Marvel Crisis Protocol tournament. I'm not entirely sure, so please don't hold me on that. But it was a brilliant venue. It was in Truro, and it was a place called Tabletop Workshop. So the guy running the place is called V Pickers, and he was such a friendly guy. One of our local guys, Darren, was help running in the event as a TO, but Lee afterwards I got to speak to him, and he knows his stuff, and it was a great shop. It's still pretty new. I think it's been opening maybe just before Christmas, but it's a fantastic shop at the top of the high street in Truro. Please check it out. But yeah, I picked up this box from his shop as well, and I was just there gassing afterwards, probably a bit too long, talking about the hobby, different paints, what he's collected, how long he's been in the hobby, things like that. So he's such a nice guy to talk to. It's a brilliant shop if you want to check it out. And I would definitely be going more down there, especially for the old Marvel Crisis Protocol tournaments. It's my first ever tournament. Always a bit nervous when I first go, and I don't know why, because I've never had a bad experience at any local tournaments, be it Curtain Games or this one. And I always get a bit nervous. You don't know who you're going to meet. You're worried if you're going to mess up the rules, especially if you're new into the hobby. But I think the southwest of England have always had a great hobby scene. everyone that I've ever met anyway has always been very, very supportive. So if you're always worried about, I don't really know the game so much, don't worry if you're not going to do great in the tournament. As long as you learn, you make friends, and it all makes sense to you. If your opponent explains what he's doing at the time, that's always great. So don't be afraid. Go out there, go to some events, support your local shops, and go for it. I believe in you guys. So thank you for watching.